Hi, I'm Matt McClure with the Retirement Panel, where we're talking about retirees and pre-retirees, helping them get ready for retirement and for the future, no matter where they are in life. And right now I'm actually joined, it's a little bit different. I'm joined by three attorneys right now, or those with law firms. It's like, oh, why are you having attorneys on? You're talking about Medicare and health coverage and all of that, but there are a lot of legal issues that are surrounding Medicare coverage and some changes that we need to talk about, a lot to cover. And I've got Eric Troutman of the Troutman firm here. I also have Pooja Amin with Digital Thrive, and also from the Troutman firm, Brittany Andrus. Thank you both, all three of you. I can count, I promise. Thank all three of you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, great to be here.
So, y'all kind of bouncing off of my little intro there, what are some legal issues that people may not be aware of or that they need to be aware of when we're talking about Medicare coverage?
Yeah, so first, Matt, thanks for having us. We're in Vegas. I should just orient so that people understand I don't normally dress like this all the time. I am the czar, but I don't always dress like this.
I didn't want to even ask, so you know.
Yeah. So look, folks in this room need to understand, folks listening to this, that there are three big things coming down the pipe right now that are critical to everyone that's making outreach to consumers for Medicare. First, the TCPA, right? The federal crown jewel response to the robocall epidemic continues to trap good companies, legitimate companies in its wake. $500 a call violations, very, very expensive, class actions enabled. We have to talk about that, some new changes. Second, CMS has new guidelines on third-party marketers. Pooja, as general counsel at Digital Thrive, is going to talk about that. Huge changes, absolutely critical for people to understand. And finally, the FTC, more aggressive than ever before, Democrat-led now, back to full strength with 3 Democratic commissioners, and they have said, they're on the record, they're going to be more aggressive to help prevent fraud, and that includes in the Medicare space.
Yeah. So a lot of changes and things coming down the pike. Go into a little bit more detail, if you don't mind, Eric, about the continuation, I guess, of this sort of the crackdown on calls and on robocalls and spam calls and that kind of thing, and how that's affecting things.
Yeah, so sure. So the Telephone Consumer Protection Act remains the federal government's crown jewel response to the robocall epidemic. $500 per call if you violate the statute, which requires express written consent before you can contact a cell phone using certain regulated technology or anybody on the DNC list. Now, obviously, folks, that during open enrollment, you want to reach out, you want to talk to some consumers, you want to help them to understand the advantages of Medicare Advantage plans, you want to talk to them about Medicaid and other programs, but it's important to understand you cannot do that. Even though it's in the consumer's best interest, you cannot do that without the required level of express written consent. And a lot of confusion right now, I'm going to tell you, because of the Supreme Court's decision in the Facebook case. A lot of people are thinking that the Supreme Court said, hey look, as long as you're not randomly dialing phone numbers, the TCPA doesn't apply to you. That's a misconception. I'm here to tell you that is not true. What the Supreme Court said is something much more nuanced, and you really need to have a very good legal professional looking at your equipment before you make that outreach. The bottom line is, if you're trying to talk to a consumer, even for something that's really important for that consumer, you can't do it without using the right technology and without the right level of consent. People need to understand that, because if they mess it up, it could be billions of dollars in exposure. Really big deal.
Devil really is in the details there, it seems like. Well, Pooja, to you now, and you sort of teased this a minute ago, but the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, some changes there as far as oversight go. Go into some more detail on that and explain to our viewers exactly what it is that's changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So CMS, as we know, has issued some new guidelines around what they're calling TPMO, third-party marketing organization, and oversight of TPMOs. And if you listen and read the drafting of the CMS providers, they're really focusing on transparency for consumers, right? They're listening in on calls. They really don't want the beneficiaries to be taken advantage of. And it comes, a lot of it's coming from the focus on lead generation these days, right? The TPMO now specifically defines lead generations as third-party marketing organizations, which carriers are going to have oversight over. And it's largely due to the fact that now beneficiaries are, they're engaging in social media more, they're using the internet more, right? Like, think of the population that's now turning 65, right? They're, folks who've been using iPhones for 10 years now, right? So you just need a little bit more oversight in who you're working with, primarily lead generators, to make sure they're compliant with the TCPA and other advertising rules.
Yeah.
So it's huge, you know. They're doing it more vertical space, right? Whereas the TCPA governs all verticals, right? But the CMS is really cracking down on really what the TCPA has been trying to control for years now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, very good. Well, Brittany, to you as well, what other changes do you see sort of coming down the pike that people who are Medicare eligible, about to be Medicare eligible, might need to worry about going into the future?
Yeah, so as Eric mentioned, the FTC is at its full strength now. They just added one commissioner. His name is Alvarado Badeo, who is a Democrat. So now there are 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And as you know, Lena Khan is the chair of the FTC, and she is Democrat. So she's going to be able to be making the decisions now, and they're going to be cracking down on, and that includes the Medicare industry.
Something to watch out for as far as government oversight. A lot more of that seems to be kind of the general theme here in our discussion. Would you say that's true, Aaron?
That's an absolute fact. I mean, if you just take a look at what's happened just in the last year, right? The Biden administration, I'm agnostic here. It's not a political statement. It's just a reality that they are moving more toward regulation, particularly to protect consumers, particularly around fraud. And I just want to say again on Pooja's point, which I think she broke down perfectly, the expansion of the oversight requirements to third-party lead generators from the PTMO space, that is a just massive change. And I really wonder how the carriers are going to handle it, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see.
I mean, I hope it's working with good partners like Digital Thrive, right? Working with good compliant companies, and I think that's where the shift's going to go, right? Folks are just going to only want to work with folks who are taking these compliance efforts seriously.
And the nice thing, though, for the retirees that might be listening, at least, you know, people are trying to look after your needs and prevent confusion in the marketplace. So ultimately, hopefully, although it's a struggle to comply sometimes, hopefully it will drive a better result for consumers and seniors.
Yeah, that is, of course, the goal, I think, here. And I think the takeaway for everybody, whether you're on the kind of the consumer side, the provider side, whatever, is know who you're working with and make sure that you have the right partner to work with, whether you need legal advice, whether you need advice on which policy might be right for you, whatever, just make sure you're working with the right person.
Absolutely.
Especially like a great company like Amerilife. Good client of ours, by the way. We love these guys.
Just a little shameless plug for us. No, Eric Troutman, Pooja Amin, and Brittany Andrus, thank you all 3. I got it right this time. I can count to 3 at least. We know this. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Retirement Panel. I'm Matt McClure, and we've been sharing more information about planning for retirement with you. And for more information, go to theretirementpanel.com. That's theretirementpanel.com for more information on how to build a successful retirement.